6 years and 16 days ago that the body of Sonam Kshatriya was found hanging in a walk-in closet in her upscale Manhattan apartment. She was only 27, a Columbia grad who worked in music publishing. We brought you her story last night. Her death was ruled a suicide by the medical examiner, who promptly released her remains to a funeral home. But the funeral director noticed something wasn't right and sent Sonam's body right back to the coroner. The mortician had noticed bruises on her legs and 4 separate injuries to her head, which did not suggest suicide to him. The ME did the autopsy, but stuck to his guns. The original finding would stand: suicide. So the dead woman's parents began a legal fight that continues to this day to challenge that finding and get Sonam's death investigated like the murder they say it was. Why are they so convinced? The bruises, the injuries, yes, but there was also blood smeared all over the terry cloth belt around Sonam's neck, but no blood at all on her hands. How is that possible if she hanged herself? And how is it possible that her legs were stuck in a bent position from rigor mortis if she was hanging straight up and down? Much of the family's own investigation centers on Sonam's boyfriend, ex-boyfriend, who apparently was the last person to see her alive and the first person to see her dead. Luke Kareem Matthew was the person who called 911 and the person who cut Sonam's body down and the person who told police that his ex had taken her own life. He also told them that she was suicidal, which the family says isn't true. Neither he nor anybody else has been charged in connection with Sonam's death, but this story is a long way from being over, especially because of the forensics, and that is my next guest's bread and butter. Dr. Priya Banerjee is a forensic pathologist who's done almost 3,000 autopsies and worked on almost 200 homicides. Oh, Dr. Banerjee, you are such a perfect guest for this. Just overall, just the stuff I said just now, it's not even all of it, but what's your take given just those facts?
So to put the caveat out there, I've only seen bits and pieces of the file, so, I have some limited information. But what gave me the most pause when reviewing this case were the bruises or impact sites, as I call them, underneath her scalp. You can see she has a beautiful head of long, thick hair. She's of Indian descent like me. So, long hair is not uncommon. And so that can protect the scalp in some ways from seeing injuries on the outside. But once you flip the scalp over at autopsy, that's really telling, and that's the important step where if you don't see anything on the outside, you still look on the inside to correlate it. Now, some of the findings are still good with suicide, in terms of the way the ligature was described and the marks on her neck. There was nothing internal like that would be consistent with strangulation. But I really don't understand, given the history that I got and the autopsy report, how she would have ended up with those impact sites on her head. The legs are sort of a different issue. We're taking a snapshot of someone in time. So bruising on the legs, I wake up with bruises sometimes. I don't know how I got them or when I got them. Remember, we're looking at everything at once. It doesn't mean all of it happened at once. I'm sort of playing devil's advocate as well. But the leg injuries, even if they're scattered bruises, aren't lethal in and of themselves. The head injuries concern me that could she have lost consciousness from one or more impacts? That's really what I'm getting at.
There's 2 things that don't make sense to me, and I'm nowhere near, matching you in degrees, that's for sure. One is that rigor mortis apparently was broken. I don't know what that means, other than I don't understand how her legs could have been bent or her arm could have been bent if she were hanging straight up and down.
Sure. I'm curious about that as well. I haven't seen the exact positioning of her body in a scene photo. The issue does become that the autopsy was days later. And that's just important to remember that rigor mortis forms and then passes. I don't know exactly if it was in the ascending or descending phase, so building or breaking, but once it's gone, it's gone. And so once they saw her at autopsy, the rigor, like that's one of the factors used in estimating time of death. She's quite petite, quite thin, so her body will cool off relatively fast, but it's not an exact science. And once we have, I think it was 2 to 4 days out after she had last been known alive and then found, respectively, then we're getting so far out that rigor is not helpful anymore.
Last question. I only have 10 seconds, so I have to make it quick.
No, got it.
How
Sorry,
is it in a
make it
hanging? No, I love what you're saying. It's so fascinating. How is it in a hanging? There's blood everywhere.
Sure. So some of it is curious. When you die, there's something that, or when someone dies, there's purge fluid that can be blood stained. I'm not sure if during some of it's dripping from her nose and mouth. Looks like those are drip patterns. I don't know if moving the body, some of it got smeared. That looks a little bit different, like spatter. So
That
I
looks
think
like splatter.
yeah, you have to take it sort of in totality. And that's where I think you need to revisit the case as a whole, because there are curiosities to me that don't add up in this case.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.